Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another AWS77 StarCraft 2 cast. This is going to be a follow-up to game number 1 between Startail Bomber, the orange Terran spawning at the bottom right of Ohana, up against Millennium Feast, the red Protoss at the top left. This is from the Ritmix RSL StarCraft 2 League, based out of Russia. It is mostly online. I'm not sure if the finals are offline or not, or if there's a certain point at which there's an offline component. I can get back to you with those details if you so wish, but what I can affirm to you confidently is that Feast is leading this series 1-0. Bomber tried to proxy a factory in Starport and go for a Hellion drop, but Feast was able to pick up on it and countered very well with a nice Colossus timing and response. He had strong force fields, contained Bomber very well, had a beautiful proxy on Atlantis spaceship just out of Bomber's range of vision, and was able to deny both his third and then slowly kill his natural. Bomber had to lift off what was left of his 30 population force and ended up losing as Feast pulled some of his probes, but had such a huge army that it didn't really matter how much damage Bomber did. He is now getting a barracks at his wall, nothing unusual. Feast heading out with his scout. He did get this he went for the exact same build order, so the question in my mind at the moment is, will Bomber try to proxy something and play unusual, or will he favor a more standard one rack fast expand? Too many X's in there. Expand in racks. I'm sure you understand my pain. Bomber, is he going to complete his wall to deny the scout? Not in time, no, but he will be able to trap it. His barracks shortly going to finish, so he will get the one probe. We'll have to see how much of a pest Feast will be with it. Maybe he will try to deny some minerals by mining from one of these patches and forcing the SCVs to move to another. Bomber now morphing in his orbital command. Nothing unusual. We do see a pylon in the corner of Feast space, so this could potentially be proxy Stargate. I use the word proxy lightly. A hidden Stargate or hidden Dark Shrine. Those two are both options for a Protoss player when they decide to place a pylon in the corner of their base. Ohana, a decent map to do this. Some other maps do favor hidden structures to a larger degree than Ohana does. Bomber does have a racks on the low ground. Feast has not seen. He is not expanded quite yet, but it seems as though he will do so, getting a bunker right near his natural ramp, not bothering to get anything near the rocks of the third. Has Bomber seen the hidden pylon? No. So if there is anything going to be built in the corner here, Bomber has no idea to scan there or to expect anything. So Feast can definitely throw down something of an unusual tech structure. He has his cybernetics core up, so he could get either the Twilight Council or the Stargate feasibly. Instead, we just see Warp Gate research on the way, so nothing too out of the ordinary just yet. He is banking up a considerable amount of minerals. He's got over 300, with his gas surpassing 100 recently. So it looks as though he will go for the Nexus as soon as possible. I do apologize for this moment or two of choppiness. My computer it's been overclocked a little bit recently with my uploading a horde of videos over the past few days, but that didn't make too much of a difference for us. So let me just check real quick. Can I minimize the UI? Oh, that just switched. I don't want to switch perspectives. Can I minimize the UI? I guess not. I'm generally used to Control-Shift-W. It seems as though that's not doing anything. There's Bomber pretending to proxy a racks there. His SCV being a complete nuisance to his opponent. Feast has his Nexus about halfway done. Nothing on the way from Bomber. He's saving up just enough now for a CC of his own. He will begin to build that. So he knows this is essentially one gate FE versus one racks FE. Both very standard build openers in the TvP matchup. Two more gates being added on here from Feast. I'm expecting that unusual tech structure. Perhaps he could have placed this pylon here in expecting drops. He can get maybe even a cannon, or just to have the pylon to be the warp in blink stalkers in the event the Bomber tries to come up and drop the main. That is heavily predicted, but now Bomber has actually moved out with a heavy marine count. Feast only with 2 sentries and 2 stalkers. This could be awful for him. As Bomber is building a bunker, he will be able to feasibly deny the expansion of Feast, who microed very well in that engage. 3 kills on one stalker and 3 kills on the other, and Feast actually forced to pull probes. He's microwaving the weakened Stalker back. We'll have to see if Bomber's able to get some Marines into this bunker or not. Will it be able to finish in time? Seconds away, but all the Marines have died. Bomber forced to cancel, and clutch micromanagement skills there from Feast. He didn't lose too much in that battle. Only 2 workers lost for him, 3 for Bomber. Did I read that right? Yes, I did. Or workers killed. So yeah, that's essentially it. Bomber has lost 3, Feast has lost 2. I had to open that up an embarrassing number of times, but there is nothing unusual on the way from Feast. He's got double forge robo facility. Bomber was playing very aggressive with that Marine push. I didn't even see it. I was so focused on anticipating something at this pylon that I didn't even notice. We do have the orbital command finally on the way here at the natural Bomber, so he's definitely sacrificed a lot for that in favor of that push. He's down by approximately 10 harvesters as Feast is now chronoing out. So he's going to get a 3rd CC in the corner of his base. Finally something unusual, not even unusual, just utilizing the corner of his base. Along with Stimpack and a handful of bioforces, he has set himself back a bit and given Feast the necessary tools to set up for a 2-base Colossus all-in. We'll have to see if Feast decides to grab the 3rd Nexus. I was so wanting to say hatchery there, but he will get this Robo Bay, so we could potentially be seeing 2-base play if he's able to hit that timing. At an ideal timing, he would be able to hit Bomber just before the Terran player's 3rd would be actually saturated and established. We'll have to see if he's able to do that. Bomber only now getting his starport, so it will be a while before he's able to crank out medevacs and or Vikings. I'm questioning whether or not Feast will get a 3rd Nexus. That could truly change the course of our game, whether or not it'll be more rush-oriented or longer and drawn out. There is now a Twilight Council warping in, or building, as they say here in the Blizzard UI. If they say that orbital commands are morphing, they should definitely say that Protoss buildings are warping in. They did say that in Brood War, to my knowledge. Feast scouting with his obs. He sees 2 more racks on the way. He sees this starport going on to the reactors. There are no Banshees. A Reaper on the way out from Bomber, so perhaps he's using that for scouting or just plain out harassment with 1 Reaper. Feast has an obs right in this lane here to predict drops. He is getting his first Colossus, and his 1-1 will shortly finish. Chronoing out Charge. We'll have to see if he also uses the Twilight Council to allow him to get 2 upgrades. Or, yeah, he's already going to get his 2 ground weapons, and shortly thereafter his 2 shields, or sorry, 2 armor. So he is using the Twilight Council for multiple purposes. Custom shells, weapons level 1, and combat shields all on the way from Bomber, but his force will definitely be at a disadvantage compared to Feast's, as he does not have his medevacs out quite yet. He does not have his combat shields on his Marines, working custom shells on his Marauders, and no attack upgrades. Feast does have his 1-1, perhaps a slightly smaller army count, yes, by 5 supply, but his army is very powerful. Its value, to my knowledge, slightly ahead of Bomber's. And now our Orange Terran is getting out his first couple medevacs, controlling both watchtowers here. The obs carefully scouting everything here. Feast has not seen the 3rd CC, however. He might have seen it in the base and figured that it had lifted off. Bomber going for a fast Ghost Academy. What has he seen? What has he scanned that has made him think this is on the way? He's seen the Twilight Council, so he doesn't even know about the Robo Bay. He has no idea his opponent's going Colossus, so this is just a bad read here from... Not even, no. I had no idea that Feast had this Templar Archives up. My apologies for missing that. I honestly thought that he just had the Robo Bay up and that Bomber didn't see it and that Bomber mispredicted it. But no, we do have Storm on the way, and Bomber saw the Templar Archives morphing, or morphing, building, warping, whatever you want to call it. All are viable. However, as I mentioned before, Bomber did not see the Colossus Den, as I like to call it. I might have mentioned this in an earlier game. It looks a lot like the Hydralisk Den, in my opinion, in this little production menu. So that's why I like to call it the Colossus Den. 2-2 has just now completed for Feast. So he will have a very powerful and well upgraded force. I like this kind of creator prime style of getting a small but very, very cost efficient force with a mix of not too many Colossi, so that there won't be too much of a wasted investment when your opponent has a reasonable Viking count, but a good amount of Templar for some storms. And now finally, Bomber is going to see the Colossus out, but perhaps too little too late, as he doesn't have any Vikings on the field at the moment. He has 6 ghosts, very useful for countering Templar, but no Vikings at all, and Feast is getting his 3-3, while Bomber will only have 2-1 in time for this potential, not even 2-1, 1-1 in time for an engage if said battle were to happen in the next few minutes, which at this rate it seems to be likely that there will be a final engage quite soon. We do see Terran ship weapons level 1 prior to Bomber getting any Vikings, so he's already prepping the non-existent anti-air units of his. A Archon morphing in as well, very useful, or an Archon merging in if you want to be very vocabularic. That's even a word in itself. A lot of charge watts here on the field for Feast. He recognizes that his opponent doesn't have too many armored units, so there's no need for that many Stalkers. We'll have to see if there was an engage coming up. No Vikings on the field. Like I said, Bomber has 1-1s, Feast 2-2, and here it is. Feast charging in, getting some good Guardian shields up. He gets a beautiful storm, but it hits a lot of the Marauders. I hear a few ghosts dying, but they have been able to get some very nice EMPs off. The Colossus has no shields left, and this engage looks like it is going in Bomber's favor. He is forcing Feast back. Now going to warp in some defensive charge watts here over at his 3rd location, and needs to hunker down here and play very, very defensive with his sentries. He does have 3 with a reasonable amount of energy for some force fields, but Bomber smells blood. He's going to go in for the kill. He does not want to overcommit here, however. Feast not producing any further Colossi, but he will shortly have his 3-3. He does have 1 Colossus here that was able to survive that battle, regenerating shields as we speak. There's a good storm on the ramp of Feast, preventing Bomber from pushing forward for the next few seconds. I think our Belgian Protoss just really wants his 3-3 to finish in time. Is he chronoing it out? No, not at the moment, but as soon as his 3-3 is able to finish, Bomber will hardly even have 2-2. Only 2 weapons and 2 armor slightly behind, so our Protoss player is now producing a Colossus. Very nice mix between Templar and Colossi. He does have no High Templar on the field, just Archons, the result of those 2 High Templar merging. There has actually been a Warp Prism over here with some charge watts warped in. 10 totals of workers killed there, so that is some modest but rather nice damage committed there from Feast. My apologies for missing that Warp Prism. It is still alive at the moment. I knew it came out on the field. I thought it was just coming for mobile reinforcements for Feast, which I see a lot of Protoss players do, especially at the higher levels, just to have that War Prism on the field or potentially proxies. But no, he's even higher level than those said higher level players, and he is able to get it to harass. But there were some very nice EMP rounds there from Bomber. He's severely weakened these Archons. There's a nice defensive storm, however, from Feast. So this is kind of a poke and prod, as Bomber got some very nice EMPs, but Feast was able to get a good defensive storm. Here's just 2 units on the way from Bomber, going to kill some probes and just be a nuisance to Feast. Here is the main engage. 2 Vikings hunting down Colossi. Feast needs to engage here before his Colossus die. Very nice choke. He gets great storms at his Colossus, doing a lot of damage. One of them does die, but it looks like he's forcing Bomber back. His supply is very, very close, but he's warping in 9 charge watts. He doesn't even have extended thermal lance, and his Colossi have still done a lot in each engage. Bomber does not know about his opponent's 4th base in the least. He will definitely want to stim up and check that location, but he's pulling a lot of SCVs. He really wants to kill his opponent outright here. The SCVs moving in to buffer some damage. Bomber likely just going to stim up and move in. Let's see how this one goes. Archon shredding those SCVs so fast along with the Colossus Splash. There again is the GM Mule from Bomber as he loses this game. Very close, I would say. Just Feast had some strong engages. He was able to get a very well upgraded force, 3-3 to 2-2 like I said. And Bomber overproduced Ghosts as opposed to making Vikings. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this series that Feast took up 2-0 in a very decisive fashion. I will catch you guys in the next series. Not sure which matchup it's going to be, but I will see you then.